Welcome to Trip Coverlet, where we wassel the bigger picture out of literature. I'm Adrian Fort.
And I'm Dalton Gentry.
And we are here for the first of a 4-part series as we hitchhike through a guide to the galaxy.
Yeah. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Douglas Adams. Yeah.
This is chapters 1 through 10.
1 through 7.
1 through 7.
Good try. Are you hallucinating a little bit?
I'm not sure. Maybe I feel like I read more because this is so bad.
No. This is good. This is considered a one of the big books.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
No, one of the big defined big books.
So, like, if you look at a list of, like, 100 books you should read, or 100 of the best books ever written,
This is on none of those lists.
Hitchhikers will be on this list.
This is
every
on
time.
none of those lists
Every
worth
time.
following.
No, they're all worth following.
This has all of the precision of a frenetic 7th grader learning for the very first time that no, he does not have to begin all of the writing he does with, "My name is Jason, and in this paper I'm going to." This is bad.
So we're clearly going to disagree on this here.
This is terrible.
I really had my hopes up for this series. I really thought this would be up your alley. I thought you'd like it.
I'll tell you where this will be up if it doesn't get better.
Okay. Well, let me talk about a little bit about what we just read.
Okay, yeah.
Excuse me.
Go through that.
So, a bit of a breakdown, chapters 1 through 7. Arthur's home is set to be destroyed to build a highway. His friend Ford turns out to be an alien and helps him hitchhike into space because Earth is being destroyed to build a hyperspatial express route. They end up on a Vogon ship, they're read some bad poetry, and then they're launched into space because they're hitchhikers. Simple as that. Cut and dry.
Yeah, for me what this does most exclusively is this delineates funny from silly. Much in the same way that, sure, irony is a delineation of humor, it is sort of its own brand of things. It is so distinguishable from humor, from what the common vernacular of humor is, that it merits its own mention. So is silly.
You don't find silly funny?
I don't find silly funny.
Okay. So for everyone else in the world, this is funny. But you don't like it. That's what we're getting at here.
I very highly doubt that everyone else in the world enjoys this.
The argument goes something like this. I refuse to prove that I exist, says God, for proof denies faith, and without faith I am nothing. But, says man, the Babelfish, whatever you want to say, is a dead giveaway, isn't it? It could not have evolved by chance, it proves you exist. And so therefore, by your own arguments, you don't. Oh dear, says God, I hadn't thought of that, and promptly vanishes in a puff of logic. That's funny.
So, this is basically summarized in every philosophy class anyone has ever took as 2 sentences. The below sentence is true. The next line, the above sentence is false. That is exactly what just happened there. It's a trick from Philosophy 101. And the worst part about it is, what part does God play in the first part of this novel?
God doesn't play a huge part in the first part.
He does not play a part in the first part of this novel.
Okay.
He comes out of nowhere, which is what makes it silly, not funny. Funny builds on something and is built upon later. That is what makes humor funny. That is, it subverts expectation. This diverts expectation. This is Family Guy humor, not Simpsons humor. Simpsons humor is built upon, I know these characters, I know this situation. When you situational comedy, you put X character in Y situation, Z will come from it. What do we know about either of these characters? Okay, were you going to make a different point there?
I was just going to continue my ramblings of the good quotes in here because it's funny.
What do we know about either of these characters?
What do we know about them?
Yes.
We know that Arthur is a homeowner. He's very attached to his home.
How specific?
How specific?
No. I'm just, I was saying that in jest. How very specific.
Okay.
A homeowner.
So,
oh, yes, I know homeowners.
Arthur is the everyman. Arthur is the everyman. He cares about his home. He wants a simple life, and he's going to do everything he can to protect the home. We know Ford is an alien. Ford is an alien who's been sent to Earth because he writes for the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And he is expanding the article on Earth and humans.
Readers. More or less likely than the average population to be writers.
More.
So, therefore, Ford is more relatable to us than is our other protagonist. The everyman, who happens to be a homeowner. That's all we get from him.
Okay. He's a simple man. Like, he doesn't want this adventure.
No, we have no reason to believe he's a simple man. We have no reason to not believe that he's a very complicated man. We're given no evidence on the character at all. He's just simply presented to us, wakes up one day having coffee and decides, I'm going to lay in front of the steamroller that's trying to take my house away.
And that's the funny of it. That's take X, put into Y, get Z.
A, we don't have X, we have no reason to care about Y, so the Z is irrelevant.
We have the character, we have Arthur.
Do we know Arthur?
We don't need to know Arthur.
What do you mean
We don't need to know Arthur.
Knowing Arthur is the
Because that's what makes the situation funny. You are dumped right into this situation where the man wakes up, puts on his robe, goes and has a cup of coffee, takes the coffee, sits down, lays in front of a bulldozer. It's funny.
It's silly. It's random.
This friend of his had first arrived on the planet Earth some 15 Earth years previously, and he had worked hard to blend himself into Earth society with, it must be said, some success. For instance, he had spent those 15 years pretending to be an out-of-work actor, which was plausible enough. This is funny. That's funny.
It's silly. It comes from nowhere. It comes from there's no groundwork laid for that punchline.
What do you mean there's no groundwork? That's funny. Because you get the idea of the out-of-work actor.
Why is it funny?
People with normal social experiences would understand this is funny?
No.
We're making fun of the out-of-work actor?
So we often say that explaining a joke kills it.
Okay.
Which infers that jokes have explanations. Tell me a joke, any joke. Knock, knock, who's there? Banana. Knock, knock, who's there? Banana. Knock, knock, who's there? Orange. Orange who? Orange you glad I didn't say banana. That's funny because it is leading us to the expectation that this dumb prick is just going to say banana again. It's subverted by the orange, which is then paid off with the fact that orange is part of a phrase which it does not actually relate to. Orange you glad.
Okay.
Ruins the joke, right? Because we're explaining it, but there is explanation there. Why is it funny that he used the excuse of being an out-of-work actor?
Okay, so we have Ford, right? Ford is an alien. We've established this. It's how we are introduced to the character. Doesn't quite understand how human life works. That's where he got his name, assuming that cars were the dominant species. So this man who is genuinely considered, being the ridiculous one who has no idea what's going on, quite literally is the only one who's going to save us. He knows exactly what to do in these situations. He is the most well-trained individual for this. It's situationally funny. This is the idiot leading the adventure.
This is the idiot trying to explain humor to Adrian, is what it is. You made no sense. I grant you no points. May God have mercy on your soul.
See, Billy Madison's funny too.
Billy Madison is funny, but it's slightly silly funny. The reason that line works in the movie is because Billy Madison had just explained to us a children's book in detail. B, we sort of get where he's going. And C, the man who's telling us, may God have mercy on our soul, is the person in charge of everything who's not supposed to use language such as that.
Okay.
This is random. This is silly.
So you found nothing enjoyable in this?
I found nothing enjoyable in this.
No political enjoyment where the president of the galaxy is basically a blundering idiot who's just going to do whatever he wants, who's basically inciting anger out of the population because he can. There's nothing there.
Not really. He sounds... This is a quote from 44. Wow. The crowd turned their faces toward him expectantly. He winked at Trillian, who raised her eyebrows and widened her eyes at him. She knew what he was about to say and thought him a terrible show-off. That really is amazing, he said. That really is truly amazing. That is so amazingly amazing. I think I'd like to steal it. I don't have a very good Trump impression, but that sounds a lot like Trump.
Yeah. And that's not funny to you.
It's certainly not funny in context. That was definitely not done on purpose. I have no reason to believe that Douglas Adams saw 30 years into the future, 40 years into the future. And
This is fair, but that's a stab just at general politicians.
no, it absolutely is, and it's sort of a stab at populism in a whole, but it, from what? From what? And I remember I took that little punch. It has all of the precision of a frenetic 7th grader, because I remember learning how to use an asterisk in the 7th grade and making footnotes on my own in my own writing.
Okay.
Because it was awesome
Okay.
for a 7th grader.
But the footnotes work. Because we're reading this as if it was like basically the Hitchhiker's Guide. It works in this situation because in a guidebook, like a travel book, like a Hitchhiker's Guide, you're going to have the footnotes.
I don't care, because it's not set up to pay off.
So, what would you like to talk about in this text?
First off, it reads like a bad parody of Kurt Vonnegut. I'm just going to keep saying first off, because all of my arguments are first offs why this is bad.
I do get flavors of Kurt Vonnegut in this. It's satirical Kurt Vonnegut style humor. It's a little crazy. Space aliens. It's very Vonnegut. It is.
I imagine this is the. I imagine I am having the. I am having the experience that many people have that complain about Vonnegut when they pick up a Vonnegut.
Okay.
There's nothing here for me. This is
going to
be a very. This is going to be a very painful series for you.
Okay, so I generally like when we're talking about doing Hitchhiker's Guide.
Okay, so here. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
We were talking about doing Hitchhiker's Guide. Like I really thought like, this will nail it. It's funny. We've got all kinds of good stuff going on here. It's weird. It's different. It's very creative.
Okay, so beautiful. I'm glad you went here, because you're making the point that I was going to make. You thought at one point, and I'm not getting on you, Salty. I just want an explanation. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. Okay, you thought at one point, Adrian's going to love this. I want to know what it is that you thought Adrian was going to love.
The book is funny. The book has beautiful moments of just seeping in that little atheist little touch that you like, the little flavor that you like. We got some good religion bashing, because we can't have God in this universe. It's creative. It's incredibly creative. We are literally painting a world for the reader. The Vogon ship. Like, this is, I think the writing is pretty decent as well.
The writing is awful.
It's not awful.
Okay, so any book...
It's dry.
No,
Don't get me wrong.
no.
It's very dry, but like,
No.
that's a good thing. It's supposed to be dry.
Any book that contains this quote, visions of it swam sickeningly through his nauseated mind. Any book that contains that quote cannot be said to have been written well.
No.
Even if it's in jest.
So where did myself and the rest of the world go wrong with this? Because I guarantee if I were to give any reader on BookTube this book, if they had not read it, they'd probably enjoy it. They probably would. Where did all the people who said this is one of the top 100 books that we've ever come across, where did they go wrong?
No one says that.
They all say that.
No one
This
says
is
that.
genuinely considered a classic of literature.
No.
A classic of science fiction.
Okay, you should... By who? Science fiction, maybe I'll give you. Science fiction, maybe I'll give you. And I'm not making that as a dig towards science fiction. This reads a lot more like fantasy than science fiction, but I can see why you would put it in that clump. But B, it is so different than... I can imagine that this book sparked a branch of science fiction,
Okay.
which might make it a classic in that realm. Classics of literature, I'm sorry, but no. I'm sorry, but you are mistaken.
So if I'm having such difficulty proving myself right and selling you on this, prove me wrong. Where did we all go wrong with this?
A, there's terrible writing.
Okay.
B, we've no reason to care about our protagonist, our semi-protagonist. We don't really have an antagonist. These are all staples of literature that someone can get away without doing, but they've got to be really good. It's one of those things that you can't do it unless you can do it. Douglas Adams didn't do it. So what did I go over already? I went over the bad writing. I went over the protagonist, the antagonist. There is no actual humor to the silliness. It is written in such frenetic jump around fashion that it's difficult to follow, which in itself, I mean, we've been through Faulkner on the channel.
Okay.
There's nothing inherently bad about being difficult to follow. If it is difficult to follow, if there is work to be put into simply reading and remembering the thing, I expect there to be a payoff.
Okay.
Through 7 chapters, there is not.
So this is automatically not good because you don't identify with it. You don't find it funny.
No, tell me who you identify with.
You don't identify with... I identify with Arthur. Arthur just seems like a man going through the motions. This seems like a man probably in his mid-30s. He seems very relatable. And he is thrown into a situation that he has no control over. His house is going to be bulldozed. He has no control over this situation. So what does he do? The only thing he can, he lays in front of a bulldozer, which is funny.
You have given me an approximate age, and you have given me a financial burden, and expected me to identify with a character.
So
there is nothing there.
Why does everyone else find Arthur endearing, and you do not?
I think that some readers are willing immediately upon opening a book to go along for the ride. I'm sorry, but you've at least got to buy me dinner and flowers first.
Okay. Now, see, that I can give you this argument. Maybe that'll warm up to you. I'm hoping it does. I really do. Because I do like this book. And that is one situation that I do enjoy with this is about a man who doesn't want to be a part of this story. He really just wants to go about his day. But he is forced by his environment to be in this story. He has no choice in the matter. No choice that the home is going to be bulldozed. Definitely no choice that the Earth is going to be bulldozed. He's hurtled into space and he's forced to become our protagonist.
Okay, so I think that there's, and I'm coming up with this on the spot, so maybe it'll be easy to pick holes with. I think that most good writing, you have to be wooed into, or you have to be thrown into. Lolita, okay. We are wooed from paragraph 1 of Lolita. Paragraph 1 of Lolita. Lolita, light of my light, fire of my loins, my sin, my soul, Lolita. The tip of the tongue taking a trip of 3 steps down to the palate to tap at 3 on the teeth. Lolita. She was low, playing low in the morning, standing 4 feet 10 in 1 sock. That is wooing us into the text. Or you have to be thrown into the text. Here is American Psycho. The very first paragraph of American Psycho reads as such: "Abandon all hope, ye who enter here," is scrawled in blood, red lettering on the side of the chemical bank near the corner of 11th and 1st, and is in print large enough to be seen from the back seat of the cab as it lurches forward in the traffic, leaving Wall Street. And just as Timothy Price notices the words, "A bus pulls up," I'm glad you're doing this, the advertisement for Les Miserables is on its side, blocking his view, but Price, who is in Pierce & Pierce and 26, doesn't seem to care because he tells the driver he will give him $5 to turn up the radio. "Be My Baby" on WYNN, and the driver, black, not American, does so. How does this novel begin? I don't even remember. Do you remember?
No, that novel's garbage.
This novel is an American classic.
It's garbage. Far out in the uncharted backwaters of the unfashionable end of the western spiral arm of the galaxy lies a small, unregarded yellow sun. Orbiting this at a distance of roughly 98 million miles is an utterly insignificant little blue-green planet whose ape-descended life forms are so amazingly primitive that they still think digital watches are a pretty nice idea.
Okay, so...
What's wrong with that? You get the humor right off the bat. There's your woo. It's not Vladimir Nabokov writing. It's not going to floor me in the writing, but I'm entertained already.
Strong statements are important to woo a writer.
Okay. So we're doing the opposite with this. We're making the reader insignificant.
No. You can make the reader insignificant in a strong statement, but this is uncharted. This is unfashionable. This is unregarded. So we're not even writing.
So
no, hold
Adrian
on.
needs
We're-
finite.
No, we're not even writing strongly enough to, instead of saying uncharted, to tell us that I would skip straight to backwaters, far out in the backwaters of the unfashionable, of come up with some word to describe that. Even if you have to make it up, make it up. The unregarded, put insignificant. This is just, it's so, the writing to this is so sort of, oh, well, you know, I kind of like this character. We're going to have God appear. You know what would be funny? If Babel was contained in a fish. Because fish are so precarious, you know.
So with that
You know what
voice,
we're going to do? We're going to throw them into space, I believe.
So with this voice,
Perhaps.
this idea of God
Maybe.
appearing just kind of struck this on me. You love Monty Python.
Or do you?
Why don't you like this? This is dry, terrible humor. Monty Python is not funny, it's silly.
So tell me this. When you think of Monty Python, what do you think of?
The memorable scenes.
Well, you think of the skits probably first. Sketch comedy is sketch comedy for a reason.
Okay.
It's not a novel length.
Okay.
That only goes so far. So in their longer pieces, their movies, there is a core conceit that we are not giving credit for. The Life of Brian, when it came out, was extremely controversial because of the anti-Christian sentiments in it.
Okay.
Because they were taking these highly regarded figures and dumbing them down. There is I think it's on YouTube, you can find it, an interview with the Monty Python guys and an archbishop of something, and the archbishop is sitting there basically making the argument, you can't do this.
Okay.
And saying, why? Well, because this is very precious to Christians. Oh, okay. But you can't do this. Okay, why? And it's basically like the interview about the movie is almost as good as a Monty Python sketch. So all of Monty Python's sketches contain a core conceit of some value, of some measure. Is there a core conceit here?
We're going to find out.
The core conceit, okay, so through 7 chapters of something, you should have some idea of a core conceit, if not the core conceit of the novel. A core conceit of the novel might be that Earth is so inconsequential, so insignificant. And that is why it is being bulldozed for the spatial superhighway, right? Interspatial superhighway. What's it called?
Hyperspatial Expressway, which is ironic.
Because it's the same reason that Arthur's house is being destroyed. I don't care.
That's on you then. That doesn't take credit away from the book.
No, yes it does.
If Adrian doesn't care, that's you. Because you're really one of the few people who just doesn't care about this. Everyone else seems to find value and enjoyment
You're
in
the
this.
only person I've ever met that likes this book.
How many people have you met that have read this book?
Considering I've met 5 people in my life,
Fair.
80% of the people I know don't like this book.
I'm going to say right now, via comments section, 90% of people are going to be behind me on this one.
Maybe if they've not read it.
No, everybody who has read this will be behind me on this.
Maybe everyone who finished it.
There is an Adrian disconnect with this that is turning you off, and maybe it will grow on you.
I guarantee you there is what's the room from Harry Potter where they throw things in that they need to keep for later?
The Room of Lost Things.
The Room of Lost Things. There is a Room of Lost Things that contains millions of copies of the Hitchhiker's Guide that were DNF'd.
Okay.
That were DNF'd.
We're not going to dismiss it just yet. It may grow on you. We had problems with A Movable Feast early on. You did not like it, and it grew on you.
Which suggests that I am fair, correct?
It suggests you are fair.
Because A, when it started, I was ripping Hemingway, who's one of my favorite writers.
You were.
And B, I let the novel grow on me. So,
I'm hoping this does.
by chapter 35, when I am still tearing this novel apart, you're going to have to concede.
We'll get there. Because we got more. You got anything else you want to touch on with Douglas Adams right now?
Yes. So there is one thing that was attempted to be done well. The yellow sun is made a big... The small yellow sun is a big deal at the beginning, right?
Okay.
The bulldozer in front of Arthur's house is...
Yellow.
The spaceship that is going to destroy Earth, that ultimately destroys Earth, is
Yellow.
so we're going to have to watch the colors moving forward.
Okay.
There's going to be something linked there. Yellow is the only color I've picked up on.
Okay.
I don't know about anything else. Okay, so what is infuriating about this? For me, what does yellow mean in America?
Happy, bright, sunshine.
It means caution.
Yeah. Caution.
Yellow's caution.
Fair.
It's not even stop or go. It's
Yield.
caution. It's maybe.
Maybe. It's a little insignificant.
Yeah.
Okay.
A little
Colors can be good, though. We did F. Scott Fitzgerald, Great Gatsby. I am a firm believer that colors are majorly impactful in that. When Daisy's around, things are bright, things are wonderful, colors are constantly commented on. When Daisy's not, things are raining, things are blue, things are grim. So colors can definitely impact a novel. That's a good thing to keep an eye out for. Maybe, dare I say, you just do not enjoy any kind of fantasy/sci-fi.
I don't think that's fair.
It seems like every major work that's either considered a huge piece of fantasy literature or science fiction literature that overwhelmingly people agree is great, you do not enjoy. We had the same problem with Lord of the Rings.
But that's not a good book.
And we're back to the same argument.
We got the same problem with Harry Potter.
Maybe you just don't enjoy the genre, and therefore it's off-putting to you. But anyway.
I might enjoy the genre.
The genre?
Not the genre, but the genre. I've got one more thing to talk about.
One more thing.
Don't belittle me in this way. How times have changed. We've got this quote from page 22. "Get off," said Ford. "They're ours." Giving him a look. Ford slapped a 5-pound note on the bar. He said, "Keep the change." "What, from a $5? "Yes, sir, thank you. You've got 10 minutes left to spend it." You say that in a bar today, people don't just go on their way. You've got 10 minutes, pal. Enjoy the change. You've got 10 minutes. The
police are coming.
Yeah. The police are coming with guns drawn because you either have a gun or you're strapped with a bomb.
Fair. So, we're going to be We're going to be back.
We're going to be back.
We're going to be back. We're going to be back next week with part 2 of Douglas Adams' Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. We're going to be reading chapters 8 through 19. Through 19. And I don't know. I don't know what to tell you about this at this point. I like this book. You clearly don't at this point. You're giving it a fair shot. Maybe it'll grow on you. Please leave a comment in the comment sections down below, though. We'll see if we can address some of those, because I do know a lot of people do hold this book very near and dear.
And Dalton is no longer allowed to pick texts going forward.
Because everything I enjoy, you hate. If you like this kind of thing, make sure you hit the subscribe button down below. Give this video a like as well. And if you'd like to help us create more great content like this here on Strip Cover Lit, there's a link, as always, to our Patreon to be found in the description below.
Want to read a good book?
It's not a good book.